today what I'm going to do is we're going to go over the Riton reticle in the X3 Conquer. It's an MRAD reticle, and MRAD stands for mil-radian, right? So mil-radian is based off of a metric system. And here in America, for competition shooting and stuff, like, we go by yards. So it's a little bit difficult, but it's doable to do, to find out either the range of the target or to find out the size of the target based off of two knowns. So if you look on the screen here, we have the tree, the mil-radian tree in the X3 Conquer. And then here's some formulas that you should know, right? So the distance with a known target size. So if you know the target size, you can get the distance. Now I have by 1,000 here, but really, like, you don't really need that. All you have to do is actually move the damn decimal place over 3 times, and then we'll cover that in a little bit. But and the same thing for target size. So if you know the distance to the target, you can get the target size. So your two knowns there are the distance to the target and your mil, right? And then the other one is your target size and the mil, right? So because you're going to be measuring with this scope, right? It's important to note you're going to get in what you put in, or you're going to get out what you put in, or however you want to phrase that. So if you put in inches, you're going to get an astronomical number at the end of this, right? You're going to get like 27,000, for example. Then you're going to have to divide that number by 36, because 36 inches in a yard, right? So that's how it kind of works. But if you put in yards, you get out yards. If that makes sense. So we'll go to the next screen here. The next screen this is off the Riton website. It shows the thickness of the reticle and kind of the representation of the mils for each of the things, right? So that dot right there in the middle is 0.045 mils. 0.045 mils. Conversely, the horizontal and the vertical lines are both the same thickness at 0.045. The little guy here, if you can see the little guy right here, it's 0.15. Okay, and then from tick mark to tick mark is 0.2. And then this big guy here is 0.4. So you can use those to estimate the target size in mils, and then we can figure out the target size in whatever, inches, yards, whatever you want to use. We're going to use yards for this instruction / lecture. Yeah, so we'll continue. All right, here's the full size reticle here. Actually, this is actually zoomed in a little bit. If you were to look inside of the reticle, this is probably zoomed in to, I don't know, it might be full power or something like that. I have no idea. But this is also off the Riton website, and I got my little deer here, okay? It's important to know that we need two knowns, right? We need two knowns. So if we want to find the range to this deer that is on the screen here, I need to know the size of the deer, and I need to measure it and come up with a known mil. Pull my calculator out here, and we're gonna go here. Oh, excuse me. Let me back out of that. There we go. So we're gonna go here real quick, and I got a kind of like a cheat sheet so to speak. So I'm saying an elk is about 30 inches, which is 0.83 yards. A deer is 18.5 yards, etc., so on and so forth, right? For each animal, I have a relationship chart, if that makes sense. So at 100 yards, a mill is 3.6 inches. So at 100 yards, from the brisket or the chest of the bottom of the chest of the animal to the back, it needs to be 8.33 mils at 100 yards for elk. For 800 yards, it needs to be 1.04 mils. All right, so that kind of gives you, like, this is my relation chart, my relationship chart. That way, when I do my math, I can look and kind of reference and check my work, if that makes sense. So 0.5 yards is what we're going to be working with, because we're using a deer. All right, so we're work with 0.5 yards, and we're coming up with a distance to the deer. And in Colorado, you have to have a 5-inch brown tine in a lot of places to take a bull. That would be considered a legal bull, right? It can be a spike in some places, but it has to be 5 inches, right? So you have to know how to measure that, because it's not like he's gonna allow you to go up there with a tape measure and measure his brow tine, okay? So I've got a cheat sheet here for, like, if he's 100 or 200 or 300 or 400 yards, and that kind of gives me an idea on how big that brow tine is. I don't know if I'll ever use it, because I haven't killed a bull yet, but I only hunted one time for elk, so maybe I'll use it one day. So we'll go back to this this guy here. Get a little drink. So we see this deer. We forgot the scenario is we see the deer. We forgot our rangefinder back in the truck for whatever reason, or maybe it got ran over or whatever, right? So you see this deer, you're like, oh man, that's a nice deer. I mean, he is a nice deer if you look at him right here. Right? You're like 10, 12 points maybe. He's nice and wide. He's past the ears. He's an old deer. Maybe he's like 4, 5 years old. Whitetail. And you're like, I want to